Okay, let's move around to where we can get a better view. Now, those of you who take screenshots, I'd say get ready. There's going to be some impressive ones with this light and those flies buzzing about his face. He hasn't removed the stomach content like he probably would on a smaller carcass, but as you know, a free meal is a free meal. Lots of meat here, but it's going to start smelling, so there's a good chance that this stench of the rotting buffalo carcass is going to bring in other predators such as lions and hyenas. Oh, and we're right downwind of it. Block your nose, Brian. Look at those flies buzzing about. So if you want to see what happens, stay tuned. We're going to go across for a quick ad break, but we will be back with this incredible male leopard. Okay, so we've done the fresh produce section, and here we're at the butchery section of our adverts today. So there we go, a nice lean buffalo cut. Anyone interested, Brian?
Delicious.
Delicious, exactly. Yes, this is what we'd call well-aged buffalo, specially marinated in fly feces. Now, as it's not always about the big hairies and scaries, so from Xivambalana and the butchery to skink with Stef.
Definitely isn't about the hairies as me. I have none on top of my head. We've just come to such a peaceful part of our walk today. Everything has just calmed down, started cooler, and we've come up to this beautiful crossing here with a jackalberry and a thicket on our one side and a massive termite mound and an enormous knobthorn. Right there in the distance, that Y-shaped knobthorn is just a big tree. One of those things that I like to walk towards on walks like this and go and share a moment with a tree like that. You're looking at a tree that's a couple of 100 years old. Imagine what that tree's seen walking through here in its lifetime. Now, always when you get to a crossing like this, it is a good idea to look both upstream and downstream, because drainage lines are cool to lie in. They have sand that can be scraped away to reveal a moist layer underneath that's quite cold. Very often you'll find leopard and buffalo and lion lying up in drainage lines. It's always a good idea just to look upstream, look downstream, and then you can do your crossing. And just have a look at the way the floodwaters here have absolutely mangled this jackalberry tree. These are normally quite large trees. They grow up to 20 meters tall out here in the bush. One of the very largest of the trees out here, but this one will never get that tall. And I think it's because it keeps on getting damaged by floods. It can only be. I can't imagine elephant would damage this. I'm actually just wanting to walk across here and see what exactly it is that I can see on this tree. Lots of big branches that have been broken off. Could it have been elephant damage when it was younger? Absolutely. These areas here now have let fungus in, and fungus is what rots out the core of these trees and makes them all hollow. And you can see here another beautiful, not quite hollow, still quite hard. Oh, very dense in actual fact. The heartwood of this particular tree right in here. And it's inside here that you'll find a lot of animals making their dens, bush babies and civets, genets. You'll find a host of birds will live inside here. And the very, very big jackalberry stumps, the ones that are about this wide, these holes provide the nesting space for the southern ground hornbill, one of the rarest birds that we have out here. And they sold or traded in any particular way. It's just they're losing their habitats. These trees just don't exist anymore, not in enough numbers to sustain their population. All right, but on that, we're going to walk off to that knobthorn that is a little bit up there, and we're going to send you off to Jamie with that stinky buffalo carcass.
And not nearly as stinky as it was yesterday, to my profound relief, and I'm sure VM's as well. Just look at this. This is absolutely mind-boggling. This entire buffalo has been consumed and eaten from yesterday afternoon when we first saw it and it wasn't touched, to now by vultures. This is not the work of hyenas. The vultures have stripped this carcass clean. Absolutely incredible. The flies are doing their work as well, and a couple of maggots. But other than that, it's absolutely phenomenal. And the culprits, or not the culprits, but those vultures that have finished it all off, are sitting with enormously full bellies and crops scattered around the dead trees. It's incredible. Too full to even descend down to the carcass and feed off it. And welcome on your live safari experience here in the middle of the African bush. You've been sitting with Brent and that leopard and his drought victim buffalo. We are here a good few miles to the west of him, close to Arathusa and the Red Dam, where we've got a second dead buffalo, also a victim of this incredible drought. Very, very sad to see, but what is absolutely amazing about this scene is that although it is sad to see the animals struggling and to see them dying in the way that they are, this carcass has provided an enormous amount of food for the vultures around the area, and they are such important birds. This buffalo carcass has been picked clean by the vultures in the last 24 hours. And just a quick reminder that you are live from the African bush, so watching everything unfold in front of us, and hopefully the vultures will decide to move back down towards the carcass and come and have a snack. They're scattered around us. We had the 3 hooded vultures in front of me there. There's also a few behind me towards the dead tree over there. Those are the white-backed. There's a very strict hierarchy when it comes to vulture feeding, and I would have loved to have been here with all of the vultures flocking around and fighting with each other. Generally, the lappet-faced vultures and the white-backed, like the ones you're looking at on this tree, are the first to feed, and that's just because they're bigger and stronger than the hooded vultures we were looking at earlier. And their beaks are powerful enough to tear open the thick skin of the buffalo and then consume the chunks of meat. They're incredible. There's only about, I would say, probably in total, some of the vultures you won't be able to see, but in total there's probably only about 20 or so here, which I'm surprised by. I really thought that we would be more around here. I'm going to go towards the dam and see whether some of them might have collected there for a drink and a little bit of a wash, but from one drought victim to another, let's go back over to Cheetah Plains and Brent and his leopard and his dead buffalo.
Hear him crunching through, or actually using his premolars like a big strong pair of side cutters to cut through that thick hide of the buffalo. Now the flies seem to be quite upset with him. It's probably eaten about 4 million fly eggs already. Lots and lots of meat here, and it looks like he's enjoyed most of it to himself. Must have stumbled upon it when it was still quite fresh. Oh, look at those claws. He's gripping into the... Look at that. He's gripping into the carcass to keep it stable while he pulls. Now, Jen B is wondering, is this possibly the first time he's had buffalo meat? Jen, I think it's impossible for us to say. I think probably not. He might have scavenged a buffalo or two, or remains of a buffalo or two in his day. Can you hear that buzz, Brian, over the mic? Now, Brian's just going to turn up the sound. Now listen to the buzz of the flies. Sounds like a swarm of bees. Quite a few different species of flies there. I can see blowflies, and the blue blowfly or blue bottle blowfly. I can't remember exactly, a bit rusty on my flies. But a shiny sort of metallic bluey green, and a very common fly around any large carcass out here in the bush. It's just incredible. So unfortunately, the big fancy machine and final control that makes all of this work has just had a bit of a glitch. So we're going to stay right here on Cheetah Plains, private game reserve with Xivambalana, but we are going to have to go to Tech Loop for a few seconds. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere. I think he might just be looking for shade, but we're trying to see where he's going. I think he's just looking for a bit of shade. So what happens, he actually got just so annoyed with the flies that he had to get away. We do apologize about that little tech glitch. Hopefully all sorted now. Let's go see where he's going. Maybe he might take a meander all the way to the Cheetah Plains pan for a drink. I don't think so. I think he's going to lie down close by. But let's go have a look. I think he's laying down already. Remember, hashtag Safari Live. If you've got any questions about this male leopard or leopards in general. Now, from a mammalian leopard to a plant leopard with Stef. Oh, no, we're not. We're staying with us. And a mammalian leopard, not a plant leopard. Hello, big boy. Those flies get too much for you, bud. It just looked like he just had enough of all the flies. It just got too irritating for him while he was feeding. So he'll probably wait till it's dark to start feeding. The flies shouldn't be as prolific in the night. Well, I think we're just going to sit here, see if he goes back to feed on the carcass, or if some hyenas arrive. While we do that, let's go see how Jamie's faring back up north.
We've made our way back onto Djuma and are slowly but surely pottering back towards those lions and their adorable little cubs. I was going to go to Red Dam and just check out what was happening there, but there were actually a couple of safari vehicles already in the area. We didn't want to ruin any guest photos or get in the way, so we've left them for now. I wish we could have gone there or seen them when they had just discovered the carcass, because watching vultures gather around a large carcass like that is absolutely incredible. Didn't Taylor start a Bottoms of Africa calendar? Ah, they just turned at the wrong moment. Well, she suggested the best screenshots for Bottoms of Africa. Well, we had a lovely view of those zebras wandering along Zoe's road. There we go. Not quite. Quite a fluffy little bottom. Zebra foal. Walking at the back of the herd. They're making all that noise. I can hear rustling off in the bushes just a little bit ahead. Perhaps there's elephants here as well. Let's go a bit closer. There's nothing quite like a zebra in the late afternoon light. The stripy horses of Africa. Hello, zebbies. Let's go nice and slowly so that we don't startle them. There's the rest of the herd. Zebra are some of the animals that actually look in relatively good condition despite the drought. And that's not necessarily because they're eating well. It's because their digestive process makes them very, very round-bellied, produces a great deal of gas, the bacteria that's breaking down the plant material. And as a result, they look healthy even though they aren't necessarily. The best way to judge the condition that a zebra is in is to have a look at the mane that runs along the back of the neck. If that starts to flop, if that starts to flop over to the side, then you know that the zebra is not in the best condition. How on earth they are managing to eke out an existence with what is remaining, I find absolutely mind-boggling. You can see this zebra snuffling around at the base of the grass shoots, looking to see whether or not there's anything edible around there. And D, yes, absolutely, as we sit and watch our bulk grazers, yes, the baby animals will be less healthy because of the drought, or at least, let's be more specific, the baby herbivores will be less healthy due to the drought, and I think we'll probably find there's also a drop in the birth rate as well. I don't think we're going to see nearly as many little baby impala bouncing about as we would during a normal year. That's just because their mothers have to sustain themselves and they just don't have the resources to carry through a pregnancy to full term. The baby predators, on the other hand, like those adorable little lion cubs that we were with earlier and that we're going back to now, are having a field day. The predators in general are having a wonderful time. We saw it with the scavenging vultures, we've seen it with Xivambalana, and even our lions with their round bellies. For them, the drought is a time of plenty. On baking hot afternoons like this afternoon, you get an idea of just how powerful the sun truly is. It's still hot, even though we're going into evening, and unless we see some rain soon, things are going to get a little bit dire. You can see the snorting, blowing the dust away to try and find whatever nutrients they can. There's very, very little. Snuffling about. And giving us an amazing view of their whiskers and underneath their hooves. A magnificent animal built for an existence out in the open areas of the African plains. And as these zebra continue to feed, we're going to move off and make our way back towards the lion. The afternoon is cooling down and things are going to start happening. Stay tuned after the break to find out what happens. way. Hello, little one. Oh, sorry, Vim, straight into the sun. Probably a little male, I think. There you can see, still incredibly fluffy. Not quite as fluffy as a newborn zebra foal, starting to get the smoother, sleeker edge that the adults have. A slightly browner colour, I always think whenever I see zebra foals. Now completely weaned from mum, which is great for her because it means that she doesn't have to worry about sustaining a foal and lactating, as well as feeding herself. You'll probably find, I don't think the growth of these animals, just to go back to Dee's question, the growth of these animals is going to be particularly stunted by their lack of nutrition, but things are going to get very, very difficult in the future. And hello to Thomas in Pennsylvania on the subject of our drought and the difficult times that lie ahead for our poor animals. Yes, absolutely, Thomas. There is a very good chance that the drought will cause quite a few stillbirths. I think we're going to start... Very peculiar sound coming from Rusty there. Some creaking and groaning going on. Made me a bit concerned. We've already started to see it with 1 or 2 elephants that have had stillbirths. There was one at the beginning of the year around Torchwood, and we're probably going to see more of it in the future, which isn't a very happy thought. We just have to keep remembering that for our carnivores, it is going to be a time of plenty for them. But the buffalo, the impala, I think impala will probably fare the best, just because they are mixed feeders, which means that they've got digestive systems that cope quite well with different types of food. They can feed off leaves and other such things, which also will help to keep them sustained. The larger animals seem to fare the worst, the bulk grazers, and particularly the buffalo. And see the tail with its beautiful hair that works perfectly as a fly swatter. Stops the biting stable flies and other flies from settling in and causing the animal discomfort. Go back to our lions, see what's happening there. In the meantime, probably our journey is going to take us right past the tent. You get to go and have a look and get thoroughly entertained by Mr. Hendry.
Body is a striped hawk moth. Just before we go back to TV, an astonishing animal, and much like that buffalo that Brent was looking at, it is rotting quietly within itself and smells like something from the bowels of hell. Now I'm just going to give you a quick view in the microscope before we go back to the TV, and then I'm going to show you a quite astounding picture of a fly. There we are, everybody. There is the hawk moth, and he is an eater largely of acacia flowers. Right, we're going back to TV, everyone. I'm going to be silent for a second. Welcome back, welcome back. It's lovely to have you with us. You're in the tent here, and the tent, of course, in the middle of the Greater Kruger National Park, a live safari. We've got Stef out on foot, Brent out in the car, Jamie also out in the car. We've had leopards, we've had lions, we've had elephants today. An incredible, incredible day out in the African wild. My name is James, Dave is on camera, and if you have been watching, which I suspect you have, with the incredible action we've had today, you would have seen a number of disgusting looking flies on the carcass of that buffalo that we think probably died of drought, being eaten by that leopard who clearly does not have a taste for fine cuisine, because if he did, he wouldn't be going anywhere near what is quite possibly the stinkiest meat in all the 8.5 million acres of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. Now there, everybody, is a fly, and what I think is so amazing about a fly like this is the parts. Look at the eyes, enormous, enormous eyes, covered in hairs and all sorts of things, and golden. It's not the same species as the ones that are on that buffalo, by the way, but you can see the golden head, and we caught this one in the middle of a fly trap, which is well, it's a fairly disgusting thing. Now, what I want to show you also is the way it flies. You see that the wings, of course, have got nothing in the way of bone. They must remain stiff purely from hydraulic pressure, and that means that there is hemolymph, or blood, if you like, insect blood, running through those dark veins over the wings, and that's how this insect and most insects remain or keep their wings in a stiff fashion, which I think is rather magnificent. Right, that was the fly, everybody. Someone who cannot fly but can walk a great distance, Stefan Winterboer. Let's go and take a look.
We can walk, thank you very much, and we can also track, and we've got such an interesting sequence of tracks to show you. Underneath my feet here is the home of a tortoise. There's a tortoise that was living in here, or is living in here. Very similar shape to the tortoise we saw yesterday, but this tortoise went on an excursion today, and I have no doubt because this particular tortoise is probably running out of a little bit of water or food and wanted to come and see if there was any vegetation close by to feast on. But the way we're going to do it, and have a look at this, we're going to follow his footprints today and we'll show you what happened to him. He came out and you can't really see much here, but here you'll start to see where his feet started to drag in the sand, there and there. That's his left foot and his right set of feet. Then he walked to here, have a look here, to here. Then you can see the tracks in the sand. Then he got to this place, which was pretty high, and he probably looked around and said, but hang on, there's no grass here, there's no water or anything, I need to go back home. But I'm not quite sure of myself just yet. And then he walked through here, walked through the sand, came up to here, here's some scrape marks here, up through here, there, to here. Now you can really start to see his tracks coming out here. All the way through, there's his little foot. That's his toenail, that's his toenails. As he's busy walking, he's putting his foot down, and then because of this wide body, he's doing this with his toenails. And that's what we're seeing here, is that toenail drag there. Here he came, and this is where he decided, no, hang on, I've had enough. I've had absolutely enough of this particular day. And he turned immediately, boom. You can see the knobs on the bottom of his feet, there and there. And then he started to come this way. And you can see here he went here, all the way down. Here's those scrape marks, distinctive scrape marks again. Beeline, straight through here, up here, the last scrape mark there, and then, boom, back into his hole. So this tortoise literally just came out of the hole to see what was going on, and then disappeared back into his home again. Isn't that fantastic? Just such a nice story about this sort of end of the dry season. Even tortoises are starting to get a little bit edgy, a little bit hungry and everything else. They are very drought resilient, so not to worry. I think this tortoise is going to be all okay. There were some leaves lying there. I'm going to put their leaves back. Yesterday we found a tortoise estivating in a termite mound, and it also had this covering of leaves behind it, and sort of, who am I to disturb a tortoise's sleep? Alright, now we think we found the cause of that particular kudu making the noise. There's a female leopard track that is coming through this thicket here. Very difficult for us to actually show you that track, so I want to see if I can pick one up for you. But nevertheless, it is a female leopard that walked through here on this game path right here. Let's see if we can go and find you a track here. And I think that is what we heard making, well, that's definitely, the kudus were barking, and we didn't know what it was, but I'm fairly sure that the kudus were barking at this leopard. And the leopard tracks are heading straight towards the lodge, Galago and Vulture. So for those of you with that eye on the damn cameras, absolutely keep your eye on the damn cameras there and see if perhaps Karula doesn't pop out there. This track is dainty enough for it to be Karula's track, and I say that in as nice a way as possible. She's got this beautiful, small, perfect track. Just a real classic sort of leopard track, but on a tiny scale. She's got a very small foot for a female leopard, a full-grown female leopard at least anyway. It's a lovely day. Sun is now calming down dramatically, and it's losing a little bit of its heat, and it's giving us the chance to absolutely just enjoy. I'm still busy looking here for that track. Well, I'll try and find a nice track to try and show you, and James has got his microscope in play again.
Right, everybody, have a look at this over here. I think we have found something quite interesting. Don't look at it, David. Did you see it?
No.
Oh, good. Now, what I want you to do is look in the microscope, and you can tell me what you think we're looking at. It's a mystery, a quiz. Hashtag Safari Live, questions at WildEarthTV. Tell us what on earth I have got in the microscope here right now. Now I'm going to hide that. Rebecca, well done. That was very fast of you. I'm just going to toss that clue over there. And now I'm going to show you some baboon poo. There is the baboon poo, everybody. And what it's been eating is guarri berries. That sort of copperish thing there is a guarri berry. And something else it's eaten is a normally indigestible thing. And that there, that white thing sparkling like a star, is a grass seed. And it's protected by all those hairs on it. And I think it's passed entirely through the baboon's digestive system, unharmed. In fact, that's a ridiculous thing to have said. It wouldn't be that colour at all. What's happened is it's got stuck on this baboon poo when it was fresh. Now, round about exactly the same place that this particular baboon poo was found, Rebecca, she's getting really good at that, we have some dwarf mongoose poo. Now, that baboon poo is almost entirely, of course, vegetation. They will eat meat if they can. They'll even catch little impala lambs when they're born at the end of November. But they will eat a lot of vegetation, and that is largely just guarri berries, which taste like nothing on earth after a dry year like we've had. But also found by the inimitable Taylor McCurdy on top of the termite mound there was this. And this, everybody, is dwarf mongoose dung. Now, you can't really make out what's going on there, except if you look very carefully, you can see bits and pieces of insect exoskeleton. Now, an insect exoskeleton, there's a really nice example of some beetle exoskeleton. Insect exoskeleton, everybody, is made of chitin, and chitin is utterly indigestible, and this is what comes out of the digestive system of animals like these mongoose. That is there that you can see in the bottom sort of side of your screen, bottom center, is the remnants of a claw from a scorpion. And so these little mongoose go wandering about the bushveld looking for insects and arachnids. They will eat lizards if they can find them, but insects and arachnids. And that little scorpion, unfortunately, was probably dug up out of his burrow while he was peacefully resting in the dry and cold season of winter. And now he lives in some mongoose dung. Let's go across to Brent Leo Smith. I believe he is still with Xivambalana, who is now tired of eating flies.
Well, there we go. He is snoozing properly. Nice patch of cool sand. Remember, any questions, pop them through to me using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. We are with Xivambalana, the dominant male leopard here on the east of Cheetah Plains. Bovine TB. So it's probably, he's already there. Now, a lot of the cats are showing sort of more immunity to the TB than they used to. So if we have a look at the lions and stuff, we're not really seeing as much sign of TB on the lions as say we were 10 years ago or so, when I was first in the Sabi Sands. So I think what's happened is that the lions and leopards who have got immunity to, or strong immunity against bovine TB, have survived. And, the flies are still getting to him. Oh, roll over. It's tough when you've got a big free meal and got to try to eat buffalo all by himself. I'm really surprised there are no hyenas here yet. Maybe they'll arrive tonight. It's definitely going to come down here to check tomorrow morning first thing. Okay, look at that. Beautiful. You can see the 3 distinct lobes at the back. Isn't that just absolutely gorgeous? So I'm not sure if you guys can hear me, but if you can, it seems like there's a gremlin in the machine back at final control. So don't disappear. We'll be back as soon as we can reboot. So we're just going to go across to a technical difficulties loop, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly.
Patience while we sort out these technical gremlins. To bring you a show all the way from the middle of the Kruger National Park and as wild places which you can get. But talking about wild things, come and have a look at this seemingly innocent patch of hair over here. This is a regurgitation from a predator, probably from a hyena, judging that this is where I'm sitting on the hyena den off of Mvubu Road. But just look at the absolutely amazing things that are inside of this particular regurgitation. That is a hoof, probably from an impala, the outer hoof of an impala, and the piece de resistance, a claw. Now that could be a baby leopard claw, it could be a baby lion claw, it could also be the sheath, the claw sheath from a predator's claw, so it's very difficult to tell exactly what that is. But that is exactly what you see when male lions cough up a hairball or cough up some of these, this regurgitation that they do, these undigestible shards. Sign that cubs have been eaten, and we all have watched the story of the Birmingham Boys and how they killed the Styx lioness's cubs. And this is evidence, not of that, I don't think so. Could be, but I doubt it. But this is evidence of that. And I know James is just going to go absolutely crazy about this particular thing. And so we're going to pack a goodie bag for James from this. We're going to take this. We're going to take some of this. We're going to take a lot of hair because I actually want to wrap the claw up in a bit of hair. So let's wrap the claw up in a bit of hair just to make a nice parcel. You notice I'm not touching the hair with my fingers. I don't really want to. You don't quite know what's inside these things, you know. Here's another hoof. That's from a steenbok or a duiker. Much smaller than the impala's one. Have a look there. That can also go in there. Some of this bone. And I know that it's not coming out of the... Oh, look at this. Oh no, that's just a tamboti leaf. I know that it's a regurgitation because if it had passed through the lion's digestive tract, the edges of this bone would be blunt. The digestive juices of a hyena and lion and leopard are very, very, very strong and wouldn't have left those sharp edges. Let's see what we have here. If you find little teeth, it's also another sign of lion patricide or infanticide. What is that? Oh, there's just too much going on here, I tell you. There's a lot of little things inside here. Alright. And on that note, and while I finish digging around in my lion vomit, basically, I send you over to Jamie with an update.
Timing couldn't be more perfect. We just need to pull over to let one of the other vehicles come through. How's it been and how are you? Good, thank you. No problem. Did you enjoy it? Okay, thank you. Just playing a bit of musical vehicles right now. We're just about to get back to where the lions are. Actually, before we do, I'd like to show you something quite disgusting, but also quite impressive at the same time. I'll get to them in 1 second. Just have a look at this. This is lion scat. And that all came from one individual. That came from Amber Eyes in one go. And that pile of lion scat is probably roughly the size of one of those smaller cubs. It's incredible. Now that is definitely not something you want to touch with your bare hands. Truly revolting. I know you were looking at baboon feces under the microscope with James. Lion feces, lion scat, to be more correct, is definitely a very, very unpleasant and very smelly. Oh, hello. Look at this. Hello. Are you curious? Where are you going, little thing? Oh, but they are so cute. They really, truly are. Little one got curious there and decided to come and have a look at what we were doing. We're looking at your aunt's scat, is what we're doing. And now you've settled yourself right there. And we definitely can't go around them. Okay, let's figure this out. Aren't they gorgeous? Little teddy bear lion cubs. That's one of the older ones over there. I'm not sure if it's a middle one or one of the oldest three. We've got 3 different sets of cubs. The oldest, there's 3 of them, and there's 2 middle ones. And then there are 3 little ones. So while we do some shuffling around and repositioning, let's go and have a look at what's coming down to the waterhole to have a drink.
Well, first of all, of course, we have the sunset, and that is viewed by the inimitable David. Well done, David Eastaugh. Very odd name, that. And he's just filming the sunset. Now, bathing in the golden light of the sun, of course, is the... Rebecca, that was brilliant. Is the Nyala being filmed there by the dam cam. And you can see Ronald there. Now, have a look at Ronald's view. There, Ronald is looking at the Nyala from his Ronald's eye view, which is basically about half a foot off the ground, and just a wonderful view there of a drinking Nyala. We don't get this close to these animals, of course, in the vehicles. That's a fairly unflattering angle, I'd say, wouldn't you, David?
Yes.
Yes, very unflattering angle indeed. Ronald needs to do better next time. A ring-necked dove, of course, there, flying around, also having a bit of a drink on what has been a very pleasantly warm afternoon. It hasn't been too hot at all, and I just think that this is... Ronald hasn't moved at all. I think, though, they keep getting a whiff every so often of human on the end of that rover, a Russian human, of course. It smells like Alex, no doubt, in much the same way that I keep getting a whiff of that hawk moth. Alex, of course, to human beings smells very good. To Nyalas, deeply offensive. And so now she's just moving away from the smell of Russia. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Alex, of course, is our technical genius, and he is Russian. Let's head back to the lion cubs while we wait to see what else comes to have a drink.
From the Djuma Dam right across to the heart of Djuma, we are back with the Nkuhumas just off Gowrie Cutline, one of their favourite spots. And now that it has cooled down, these are the scenes that we were so eagerly anticipating. The cubs have become far more playful, keeping each other thoroughly entertained and practicing all of those important techniques that they will need one day when they're big, strong and scary. They're not quite big, strong and scary just yet. Oh, that's got thorns on it, doesn't it? Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, good. That'll make a good chew toy then. The world is their playground, and is filled with all kinds of exciting things to be explored. Or leaned against. I hope you're getting some amazing screenshots. And we've got a lovely mix of what we think's about 5 females and 3 little males. And Michael, yes, male lion cubs do tend to be a little bit more aggressive. They all play with each other in the same way, but you are right, at kills, the male lion cubs tend to be a bit more boisterous than their sisters, and the size difference starts, it's not apparent yet, it will start to become a little bit clearer in the next few months, the difference between the males and the females, and then it will give them an advantage when it comes to the kills. Now, a lion is a very, very social creature, but when it comes to meal times, everybody has to fight for their spots, and that includes... What are you doing? I'm stalking. I'm a predator. I think the game is up, little one. I think you've been spotted. Yes, it does include fighting for the spotter to kill, and little cubs often get a little bit battered about and a bit even injured at times if they overstep the boundaries. You saw that wonderful scene with Brent where one of the Styx cubs was casually just removed by a very patient, quite tolerant Birmingham male from the kill they were feeding on. But they're not always that gentle. And sometimes the cubs get a little bit sort of knocked about. Lions always pull their punches, though, when it comes to family. So they don't ever really get seriously injured. And what's amazing about this is they're starting to show this incredible curiosity, roaming a little bit further and further afield each time. That, of course, is what got little Hansel and Gretel into trouble, the two missing lion cubs. Oh, time to stop and just have a quick scratch. You can see it in the brightness of their expressions. Sort of burning, powerful curiosity about the world around them. What's there? I think that's one of the little middle ones, stalking its sibling. Ha! Got you! Pinned. And of course, those skills are going to be so crucial. I haven't quite mastered them just yet. But practicing on each other is a really good way to learn. And look, they're starting to get the black tufts on the tip of their tails as well. If we have a look down there. Here we go. Like a proper adult lion. Oh, are we being stalked now? No, distraction. What's there? Now don't you start scratching. The last thing we need. Our other set of lion cubs, the Styx lion cubs, are terribly infected with a demodactic mange, which is making them incredibly restless and itchy. So far, though, great news, because of course the Styx and the Nkuhumas associate with the same males, so there is a chance of it being spread. I'm really hoping that that doesn't happen. Couple of dirty patches there, but I think that's just a little bit of dirt and a little bit of rubbing. And as the evening starts to cool down, it is a beautiful afternoon. Let's go and have a look at Brent's lovely view of the setting sun.
So Jamie's far up in the west, and we are way on the east, right on the edge of the Kruger National Park. We are watching the gorgeous African sunset dip down below the western horizon slowly. But of course, not only do we have a gorgeous sunset to look at, we have a gorgeous male leopard who's still snoozing as well. Now, I was hoping as it gets cooler he might get up and start feeding on that carcass again, but I think he might be snoozing for the next little while, letting that meat digest. So I don't think he's going to feed anytime soon. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave him be. What I am hoping is possibly that male lion who was looking a bit hungry that we saw at the beginning of the safari might be up and on the move. And let's leave Mr. Xivambalana sleeping. We're going to definitely come back here tomorrow to see if he's still got that buffalo carcass to himself. But in the meantime, from one sunset to the same sunset from a different spot with Stef.
It's amazing how you can jump from one pretty sunset in one part of the reserve to another pretty sunset, well, the same pretty sunset, but from another location. Let's look at that, through this Tamboti thicket, across this drainage line where we've been sitting for the last couple of minutes. We've got an answer to the riddle about what leopard track we think we're following, and I think it's young Sindile's leopard track. At first, we thought it was a female's track. It was very small, only that big. Literally as big as my palm. Oh, excuse my hands, I've been digging around in the sand, so my hands are very dirty. It was only about this big, which is exactly a female leopard track, but we found some fresh tracks of his. Definitely, I think, a male's track, and the only track that's small, like a female, that we have right here, right now, is Sindile that would be walking around this area. And definitely sounds like it's a riddle, at least anyway. But just have a look at this wonderful sunset going down here behind us. Some clouds in the distance. I don't quite know what that's heralding, but who knows. That's a nice thing about this place, is we will see it no matter what. Any case, we're going to send you over to James from the tent.
We've just decided to have a quick update on the stingless bees living in the skull of this giraffe. Now, those of you who watched us during Father's Day or perhaps during Big Cat Week would have noticed one of our special stars, and that is, there she is. Her name's Martha, Martha the stingless bee, and that's her husband Michael. And you can see they've just deposited some fresh wax on the top there of their little tunnel. And you know, since Father's Day, which was when? When was Father's Day, David? That was June. They have hardly built onto this thing. They haven't done a great deal or spent a huge amount of effort on it. And I think it's because they've been largely inactive. Now, there are probably more than just Martha and Michael in there. I suspect there are quite a few in there. Perhaps a Marvin, a Mickey, a Mark even inside there. A Marion. And what they're that's absolutely ridiculous. I won't do that again. What they're doing is creating some very sort of sour sweet honey, and it's in little cells exactly like you'd expect bees to be in. You know those sort of hexagonal cells that a normal honey bee has. And what they're doing there is putting their larvae in, but they're a very small colony of them, and they're living in the nasal passages, not the brain case of this giraffe. Now, come over here. Let's have a look at the dam cam. Oh, hippopotamus and waterbuck. Ronald, your old mate, Henry the hippo, is on his way back. For those of you who didn't see last night, everybody, Ronald had an amazing experience with Henry there. He went down to the bottom of the Djuma Dam, and he sat not 3 meters from Henry's back foot. It was wonderful. Have a look at the rover. There is Ronald's view of the waterbuck. We're not going to move Ronald now, but I do hope very fervently that Ronald is going to end this drive as he did yesterday's drive, just behind the right back heel of Henry the hippo. Now, you would have watched Henry last night. Zumi, you were doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Well, you would have watched, perhaps, you would have watched Henry turning round, smelling again the rover. We got to within just 3 meters of him, and then he turned round, he smelt us, and he got a little bit of a fright and walked off. So we'll see what happens later with him. Let's go back to those incredible little cats.
I think incredible is a wonderful description. Adorable, engaging. You can't even stop watching them. They are just too precious for words. And I'm so happy to see that all 8 of them are back together once again. Little milk bar's opened up. The little one at the back still wants to play. Looks like a little male to me. A fluffy face. They do start to show signs of their manes developing. At a couple, only really about 6 months, 6 or so months old. And we'll start to see the difference more and more clearly Initially it was quite tricky to closely examine underneath their tails, but it's getting easier to differentiate now. Oh, exhausted. Coming to bug mom. Said I think we have a 5-3 split with 5 males and more females. 5 females and 3 males. Goodness gracious. And Brian in Toronto, I'm actually not sure. I think it is a 50-50 balance. So Brian wants to know if there's a skew in favour of one of either sex, whether there's more females born or more males. It would make the most sense to have more females than males born, but that being said, I've seen random combinations of gender divides or gender numbers in lots of different lion prides. So my suspicion is that it's 50-50 in terms of births, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm not 100% that is in fact the case. I think it is, though. I think for the most part it is entirely random, and you've got a 50% chance of either getting a boy or a girl. And for our 3 little boys that the Nkuhumas have, unless Amber Eyes and the young female also have cubs, the fact that there's 3 of them is a really, really good start to their life. It bodes well for them when they reach the age that they are fully mature, at around 3 or so years old, depending on the circumstances and when they decide to leave the pride, or when they are kicked out of the pride. Having buddies, having brothers or cousins to form a coalition with is a really, really solid start to a young lion's life. Junior, of course, who is the Nkuhuma's previous young male, he didn't have anyone when he set out on his own. He moved all the way through Kruger and he's covered enormous distances. It since seems that he has formed a connection with another young male, which is what young male lions do. They will bond together even if that male is not related to them, because it just makes them so much safer. It's easier to hunt, it's much, much easier to topple some reigning males, some territorial males, and establish their own territory. So our little Nkuhumas, I'm very, very glad that there are 3 little males and not just 1. But, that being said, I'm really looking forward to the days where we sit with the Nkuhumas, a much strengthened force, in a year's time when we see 13 lions wandering down the road. Hopefully, all of their cubs will survive to that age. Just imagine it. I think everybody's settled down a little bit still. Still not quite finished their afternoon snoozes. Let's go back across to the dam and see whether or not that hippo has decided to pop out.
Wonderful stuff going down here, everybody. Try and shrink yourself down to the size of an ant. Hop on the back of Ronald and take a look at this. There he goes. Now you're going to just turn him towards where Henry's coming and then stop him and see if we don't get another great view of Henry's muzzle. Spectacular muzzle that a hippopotamus has, possibly the top muzzle in the world. And there you can, maybe, is that the top of Henry making his way up? I think it is. Let's just go to the edge of the water here. I just want to get here and stop before he breaks cover. There you can see exactly where he is. Right, I'm going to stop right there. That is awesome. Henry seems to be slightly suspicious. He's looking out of his left eye there, slightly suspiciously, and turning his ears towards Ronald. Now, if we go back to Ronald's view, what you will see, Rebecca, you're on fire today. What you will see is that Ronald actually can just see the top of Henry's back, and therefore I do not believe that Henry is able to see Ronald. So we're going to sneak a little bit forward to the edge of the water here, and there we're going to wait and see if Henry don't pop up over the top. Let's have another look at the dam cam. There we go. They are faced off. They look like they're much closer there, but of course you can see that Henry can... Oh, here we go. Here comes Henry, everybody. Come on, Henry. Don't be afraid. Walk up that green grass. That's it. 1 foot in front of the other. I know it's a trying drought time, Henry. Let's just turn Ronald slightly so it'll face Henry as Henry perhaps steps over the top. Okay, here we go. This is going to be awesome. I can't see him yet on Ronald's view, everybody. I am watching Ronald's view, and we will cut straight to Henry as soon as Ronald gets sight of him. They are now facing each other off almost inadvertently from about 3 meters. Henry is a deeply suspicious hippopotamus. You can see there he really is quite suspicious as to what's going on. He knows something's amiss. He can't tell quite what it is. His left nostril seems to be flaring slightly, perhaps at the scent of Russian aftershave that Ronald wears. And that grass, of course, has been cropped short by him while we wait for him to make his next move. I'm not going to move Ronald. I'm going to just let Ronald sit right exactly where he is. But that grass there has been cropped short by Henry, and one of the reasons that he lives around here is not only for the water, of course. It's so... Ooh, here we go. This is so cool. He looks like... There he is. Hello, Henry. It's Ronald here. Yes, lovely to see you again. Did you have a good day? Don't go away. I've waited here some time for you. Henry, where are you going? There we are. I just think this is absolutely spectacular. The development of Ronald and Henry's relationship is sure to go down in the annals of social history for time immemorial. Like the relationship, I suppose, between R2-D2 and the Wookiee. Almost exactly the same, really. Yes. Henry is still very suspicious. Well, it might be that he's suspicious, or he's just a ponderous fellow. I think your view of him at the moment is by far the best, but you can see him looking at Ronald there. Let's see if he goes back into the water or not. I don't want to move Ronald at this stage. If Henry starts to look like he's going to go into the water, he keeps looking towards Ronald. That's it. That's it. I'm sure he can smell him, everyone. I don't know if you watched last night, but we really literally got to within 2.5 meters of his back foot without him reacting at all. He turned around, saw Ronald, and then smelled him and became quite offended. Alrighty, let's go back. We're going to see what happens with this hippopotamus and with Ronald, our rover. Let's go back to Brent Leo Smith, the maned guide, and see his maned critter.
This is a different male line. It's not the one we saw at the beginning of the safari, but he is heading slowly towards where that other male was. And it looks like he might be tracking the females from scent. Now, I just saw his tracks on the road, and then literally we drove another 100 meters, and there he was walking parallel to us. I'm going to try to stick with him. There he goes. Now, this is quite a thick area, but we will try our best. I'm hoping he heads back towards the road, which actually looks like he's going to... No, might do. So that other male line we saw in the beginning of the safari is probably about 1.5 kilometers due west, and he's heading straight for that area. But I wonder if the Styx lionesses are also around. Okay, so while we keep up with this boy off the road, let's go see what Stef's up to on foot.
We have got a dove track to show you. Very exciting. Dove tracks are actually quite difficult to identify, but the easiest way to tell a dove track from another bird is you draw a line from the front of the toe to the back of the toe. So they've got 1, 2, 3 toes with a back toe, 4 toes in total. You go to the middle toe and you draw a line, and you'll see that it'll make a curve to the next toe, to the next toe, to the next toe, and it'll make this very sinewy line. And here we go, there and there and there and there and here and there we track this dove. into the bush. But when you have a look at the line you've drawn, you can see that it makes the sinewy S-like bend. And that is typical of the doves. Only the dove's track does that. And this would probably be a Cape turtle dove. It's the most common dove that we find out here on the floor anyway, and it's not as small as the emerald spotted dove. Alright, and that is Tracks 101 by Stef and Winterboer, and it also is my closing sequence for tonight. So I just want to say thank you very much for today from myself and Jandre, and we are going to be making our way back home, and you're off to Jamie and those beautiful cubs.
Somebody's getting very, very brave. That picture of abject innocence. They've got the most amazing facial expression. Little one, this is one of our smallest ones. They've still got their spots on the top of their heads and still visible on their bellies as well. You being very brave. I think it's interested in the francolin that's behind me. Hello. You're going to practice your hunting skills. Not so easy to catch, francolin. Might be a little bit tricky. Another little one coming to investigate. The three youngest ones are very brave. And very curious. Where are you off to? Don't go too far. That one just fell over. Oh, they're so thoroughly entertaining. They haven't quite got the coordination down just yet. This is very intimidating, VM. We're being stalked by lots of very small cats. One's stalking the francolin, the other one is stalking the other cub, and doesn't realize it's been stalked itself. That was the most tentative capture ever. Distracted by each other. Absolutely magical. Could sit and watch them all. Pounce. Listening to the francolins and the babblers. That looks like one of the little females. Isn't she beautiful? I'm definitely biased, but our lion cubs are going to be beautiful lions. Our Nkuhuma lion cubs. Definitely biased though. But they've got good genetics. The Nkuhumas are very, very attractive cats. They're big, very robust. Not that the Styx cubs won't be if they grow up. They just have to get rid of that mange. They have to grow out of it and recover. Slightly wobbly back legs still. Like a little cub waddle. It's also fascinating watching how enormous their feet are. Like puppies. Those of you who have big dogs and have raised them from when they were puppies, you'll know all about those enormous sized feet that they haven't quite mastered just yet, and these lion cubs are no different. Oh, gonna stalk the other cub. Surprise! Caught you! Now, Susan, you were wondering if it's possible that the Nkuhuma males could form a coalition with the Styx males of the cubs these size, and it is possible, but it's very, very unlikely. So generally what happens is, if if males come from the same pride, then generally stay with a coalition that's already established. There are really unusual circumstances where established coalitions have allowed an unrelated member into their fold, but it's very, very unusual. It's only really in artificial situations that might occur if the lions were in a slightly smaller area. But out here, it's unlikely. It's possible, but very, very unlikely. I'm not sure how many Styx cubs are male. I actually don't know that. They do, of course, share fathers, so they will be related in some way. Lion pride. Oh. Oh! That was so cheeky. You naughty little things. Poor Mom just wants to have a rest, and when she snarled at that cub, the cub went and nipped her on the lip. I have all the time in the world for the Nkuhuma females. They're such tolerant parents. If you'd done that to Amber Eyes, little cub, you might have had a bit of a different response. And my absolute favourite thing about these cub sightings is the vocalizations of the different cubs. That being said, I also enjoy the sound of James Henry's voice. Let's head across to him so that he can say farewell.
Hello everybody, we're just going to have one last look at Ronald and Henry's budding romance and relationship. There we have Henry back in the water and totally oblivious, seemingly, to Ronald. Not oblivious. Unfortunately, what Henry did do was nearly drown Ronald, because we placed him right next to the water's edge, but of course because Henry is such a very fat fellow, he managed to create quite a lot of waves. But there the two of them are at the end of the evening. Let's head, we're going to say a big fat thank you for being with us today. We've had a wonderful time. Well done to those of you who got our quizzes right. I'm not sure if anybody got the bird's nest correct. That's what we were looking at under the microscope the second time around. Thank you, David, for your efforts. We're going to hand you back to Brent, I think, at this stage, and watch him in the setting sun.
Cats everywhere today. So as I said, it looked like that male lion was following the scent of the females. We've come to where we had that male at the beginning of the safari, and we've got the females and cubs. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cubs at the moment. Oh, shame. I do feel sorry for the little Styx cubs. Apart from the mange, they don't look particularly unhealthy. And of course that mange will make a difference. It can affect health. The lionesses still look quite healthy. And they're definitely thirsty, those little guys. Only 5. It's not to say that others aren't around. We might not just be able to see them from where we're sitting. No, I can't see the male, but I think he could still be sleeping off to the side. And there's another male on the way here. So 2 Birminghams on Cheetah plains today. Oh, Mom's had enough. I can hear them all grumbling. I love it when lionesses walk like that with that tail flicking about. Oh, stretch. Now, they're probably about to head out on the hunt. No, gonna have a snooze in the dry waterhole. They are looking quite hungry, so I'm pretty sure they're gonna hunt tonight. Cubs are still hungry. Well, we've only got a few minutes left. I wonder if that big male is going to make an appearance, the one who was hopping along, we saw a little bit earlier. There is another male around here. I'm not sure exactly where he is. He might have gone off for a drink. Just checking behind me. Nope, no sign of him. But we've had a busy cat day this Sunday. Nkuhumas and cubs. Xivambalana and a buffalo. Styx cubs and Birmingham boys. Hopefully for the Styx Pride they have a successful night on the hunt. And fingers crossed that they make a miraculous recovery from the mange that is pestering them at the moment. Now, from the spring onion, of course, which is the greenest thing in the African bush, and it's growing on Brian's thumb. And from myself and, of course, Brian Joubert, the killer bees, it's been fantastic having you with us. Ah, there's a sixth cub. So I said, there's a sixth cub. So I said, I'm not sure. The last time I saw them, they had 7. It looks like the other cubs are still around. I said they could be lying behind a drainage line somewhere. All stop for a scratch. I'm definitely going to make my way down towards Cheetah Plains tomorrow, check up on Xivambalana, and wonder if the lions find his buffalo. But till tomorrow sunrise, let's have one last look at this little cub.